until they pissed off her sister. She came out raging about her babies, and they called her Kali Ma in Sekhmet. But when you put it all together, then you can reach the infinite potential that we was all meant to reach. But they keep tricking us with the BS. Yeah.
I agree.
And that's a critical part of shadow work too. That's part of knowledge of self. Tapping into the ancestral realm is tapping back into your DNA reservoir. All of the ancestors are present in you. If you listen, you can hear them, and you can hear them arguing with each other when the dirty one's trying to put you up to do some bullshit. But we ain't tuned in like that no more. We've been too busy trying to catch the Holy Ghost in the church, where we put ourselves under the Amen spell of the unknown gods, telling the gods to remain unknown. So we could never get our shit back, because the God that's known is the I-10, high noon, solar disk. Can't miss it. Right there, dead center of the sky. But the Amun comes out with the moon. At night, in the dark, behind the scenes, where you can't recognize the God. And that's why they say, let your light shine into the world. Be the I-10 and not the Amun. Okay. Don't hide in the shadows. Come out in the light. Or be the light that you bring. And let the light rest on the truth. And stand in the position of right. The rightful heirs. Well, we're not Africans. We sprung up all over the world as with the dark mother in the beginning. It was all females, and they all was melanated. But they also carry a spectrum within their genome. And so the 12 daughters of Isis is representative of the 12 signs of the zodiac that sit around the Tawaret seat in the center. On Earth, it's the 12 daughters of Isis, which made up the 12 distinctly different genotypes that became phenotypes on the planet, or 12 nations. This is why they be talking that Israel shit, but it don't got nothing to do with the Bible, because the Bible is made the same way you make a core out the virus, and then you use the shell to build the immune system. They trying to make us accept part of a shell of our historical record as the whole and the entirety of the truth, when it's only a shell of what we used to do thousands of years ago. But the genetic memory make us believe it, because the part of the story they tell, we already know. Jesus is Isis, and her son is Emmanuel. We called him in ancient Kemet Heru. And the Heru, as really not who he is, that's the position he holds as the heir to the throne, being the fruit of his mother's loin. He's a mama's boy. This is where masonry sprang from. Now, the only thing is, mama gonna pick somebody to counterbalance him based on her star chart. What's her birthday? And then she gonna tie them together in the heart chakra. That's called passing off your mitochondrial host. Right? This is what arranged marriages used to be. People think they still choosing their wife all the time. It's an arranged marriage through the energy, because when you do it in the spiritual, it manifests in the physical. And mama already picked who she gonna pair you with, and you ain't got no control over it, but you think you do.
The creed.
And every time you try to talk to the one that she told you you can't have, you don't get no play. In the higher your spiritual rank, the harder it is to play that game. That's an educational construct that's used to disassociate us from the land.
Okay, but do you believe that they could have brought some slaves over here? Like
they brought slaves, but they wasn't from Africa.
They was already on these lands.
No, they brought slaves with them. We knew, because we know the wars they fought. They fought Mongolians, Huns, and Vedics. They tell you that they brought the slaves when they came, but they didn't bring no slave ships from Africa. The slave ships came from Europe.
That's different. That's now.
It's in the history books. It's not even debated. When the settlers came, they brought servants with them.
Okay.
When the servants didn't look like us. Right. The servants didn't look like us. When they was bringing them over here, they had to create Indian schools so they can teach them how to replace us. This ain't no secret. Pull up the pictures of Indian schools and it'll show you little Asian people that they saying is Indian. And they're using the Indian schools to teach them how to be Indians. They imitating us. This is what the switch out happened on the so-called Trail of Tears. That's when they marched all of us back into the South as the old Mississippian tribe root clans. They didn't want to carry them to the Reds, but some of them still got there. Somebody had to teach them people the culture to keep up certain rituals in order to maintain a certain level of balance while we was in the conflict. Right? I was telling the sister earlier, it's a video of Mama Mashpee Mama Bear. And in the video, she said, y'all stop being so hateful toward the black people, because if it wasn't for them, we would have all got wiped out. They did the slave thing to save all of us. But what are they talking about? They talking about the George Washington Challenge, which was the conjure wars that we were fighting. And the only way out is to educate yourself till you the highest educated out of all of them on both sides. Right? So I was studying and reading books and trying to do self-development. I wasn't trying to get in no position to be teaching nobody anything. I was just trying to self-improve. But the sheer level of information that I was able to consume over a period of time made me qualified to fulfill a certain function as one of the chiefs on the land. But I can't take the test to be the chief until I turn 50. Women's take the test at 40. Right? So when I get ready to turn 50, all hell break loose on me. So now, 5 years later, all heaven about to break loose. I call that a turnaround if I ever seen one. 12 daughters of Isis. All different skin colors and hair textures. The 12 daughters of Isis are the matriarchs of the 12 lands of the earth. The Isis seat is in the Grand Canyon. The simulation of the Isis seat is the house of Pharaoh in Kemet. But the real power seat is in the Grand Canyon, the original temple of Isis. So when I talk about putting the women back in their rightful place, I'm talking about restoring the matriarchal structures of the 12 daughters of Isis and Isis herself, the Great Mother, which is only a title. When you say Isis, people think you're talking about a specific person, but many people have held the Isis seat. And this is why you have so many people reincarnated saying, I'm Isis, and think they remember holding the seat. They probably not lying. But we call that the Sybil effect, because they all in a hive mind group. And they can only be in the hive mind group by going through a process of weeding out the parasites from the true supporters of the sisterhood. And they use me for a crash dummy to weed out some of those frauds. So using me as a crash dummy, I don't give a damn. I'm a whole gorilla. I can take it. And I can defend myself too, because I'm a Scorpio and I will sting that ass. So when I talk about restoring the Great Mother, that's restoring the proper heir to their proper position in order for the proper structure to be restored so that we can have balance. That's all it's about, is restoring the balance in humanity to match the balance in nature. They call it voodoo, and that's why they didn't want us to practice it. Because it teaches you to identify your ancestral links wherever you from on Earth. And then you get to study all of the priesthood. So when I talk about the women being restored to their proper place, I'm just talking about put the structure back in place that belong on Earth, for Earth to run the way Earth is supposed to run, and we have heaven on Earth at that time. Or regions, you would probably call it regions. Nation is a term used in the English language to impose admiralty. So there's Eurasia was broke up into 4 sections. What we call the motherland was broke up into 4 sections, and the Americas was broke up into 4